It's overspraying. That's it. Plain and simple. That's it. Video over. But, if you want to know why and what it's actually doing to your health, then watch on. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to tell you all about the bad things about overspraying, but I'll also give you some super good tidbits on how to prevent damaging your skin whilst making your fragrance perform better without having to overspray. You might be thinking, oh my God, Raf, that is impossible. C'est impossible. But it is very possible, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that because that is the number one fragrance mistake. But before I talk about the number one fragrance mistake, I need to mention that there is also a number 0 mistake, and that's because I'm really bad at math. So, overspraying is the number one mistake that people are making with their fragrance, and I'm sure that many of you watching this right now already know or have felt inside sometimes that applying copious amounts of volatile aroma chemicals on your skin can't necessarily be of a great health benefit, especially since many of these fragrances can linger on you for about 8 hours or more. Sometimes some fragrances can last 24 hours and you think, what's in that? Has it become a part of my DNA? So then the question many people logically ask becomes, should I overspray or should I not overspray? And that is the wrong question. And it's the number 0 mistake. In fact, the correct question to ask should be, should I wear a fragrance or should I not wear a fragrance? Now, again, many of you watching this, I'm sure the majority of the time, the answer to that question is yes, of course. Why is that even a question, Raf? Well, it's a question because wearing fragrance is not natural. No matter how natural the ingredients on a bottle says it is, or on the label says it is, it's just not a natural thing to do. What is natural, however, is our evolution. And from an evolutionary standpoint, our sense of smell evolved as a versatile tool for navigating physical and social environments, ensuring our survival, reproduction, and communal well-being. Basically, your sense of smell, it found you food, it enhanced your taste, and it warned you of danger. It allowed you to smell out also potential mating partners or people of your kin, people in your family. And since the olfactory system connects directly to brain regions like your amygdala for emotions and the hippocampus for memory, this linkage helped our ancestors remember safe locations, foods, or traumatic events, like, for example, associating smoke with fire. So smell evolved to either bring you a benefit or direct you away from harm. And if it's neither of those things, then your brain will literally ignore it. Kind of like the algorithm ignores my channel. When you overspray a fragrance and it's radiating off you profusely, once your brain realizes that it's neither a benefit nor harmful, it'll just get ignored. This is what many people call nose blindness or sometimes olfactory fatigue. And this is natural, but wearing a modern fragrance isn't. So you could translate that question from before to, should I stay natural or should I apply artificial chemicals to my skin? Kind of changes the perspective, doesn't it? Since we're on the topic of applying chemicals onto skin, let's talk about skin. It's considered the largest single organ on our body, in our body. Some of us have more to bring to the fore, obviously, but that extra bit isn't where you want to spray fragrance on. Don't ask me how I know. I mean, your lungs are an organ as well. Would you like to spray perfume in your lungs so that it would make your breath smell better? It's actually a good idea. Don't answer that. Skin! Throughout your life has various jobs to do. First of all, when you're younger, it acts as a communication device because it communicates your internal health to the outside world. So the healthier you are on the inside, the healthier your skin is going to be. This is especially helpful when you're young because subconsciously you're advertising your health to potential partners, and you're also picking up these health markers in potential partners, potential mates, when you look at theirs. One key thing to note here is a large part of your skin's health is related to, drumroll please, your gut health. That's right, your gut microbiota, specifically the variety and the constitution of your gut microbiome, will determine, among other health markers, the health of your skin. It's also worth mentioning that hormone health also plays a significant role in skin health, which in this context is in the process of communicating vitality, fertility, and virility. Simply put, it communicates whether you're a smash or a pass, and how energetically you're going to get smashed or passed. And as you age, like me, our skin becomes a literal barrier to the things that can mess up our health from the outside, like overspraying chemicals on it. Why? Well, remember how I said skin health is dependent on your gut microbiome? It just so happens that your skin also has its own microbiome. Blown my mind. I didn't know that. So skin has its own microbiome. That is, it has its own set of bacteria that live not only on it, but they live with it, like roommates who really get along. So in this regard, we're all the same, as in there's a set of predetermined good bacteria that should live on your skin. And by I'm talking about human, regardless of age or gender, etc., etc. But in other areas, we're different, because the makeup or the constitution of our skin microbiome will be specific, almost like a fingerprint, to you and you alone, and to me and me alone. A broad example of this is the sex difference in skin between males and females. Females will have more estrogen, and males will have more testosterone. And more testosterone boosts collagen synthesis, which makes men's skin around 25% thicker, and this is why we take longer to look old, whilst women shrivel up to look like a well-used fake leather beanbag from the 1980s. Of course, I'm joking, I'm just joking. But actually, that would be true if it wasn't for the fact that men don't really take care of their skin the way women do, and men spend more time outside and engage in more skin-harming activities like smoking and drinking when compared to women. And this matters because of a crucial element. Skin has a pH, which is the measure of how acidic or basic something is. For normal adults, the pH of your skin should be around 5.5. which is just a little bit acidic, and this acidity helps to maintain the balance of the skin's natural oils and protect it from harmful bacteria. And as a result of women using more skin health products compared to men, they will generally have a more balanced skin pH, which basically means perfumes are going to smell nicer on them. As a side note, the natural oils produced by the skin are called sebum. Now, there are sebaceous glands in the skin's deeper layers that produce sebum to lubricate the skin and prevent moisture loss. When you mess up your health, as in your gut health and your hormonal health, you mess up the pH. In turn, you mess up the balance of sebum and moisture on your skin. This then has an effect on the fragrance you apply to it, from affecting the actual smell to the performance. And this is what people in frag calm so simply and stupidly put down to skin chemistry. Hey, I didn't know this either until I went down this rabbit hole and uncovered a whole bunch of useful information. I think I deserve a sub and a like for that. Down there. Cheers. Thank you. Okay. Thanks for the lecture, Dr. Raffi, but what the hell does that have to do with overspraying? Well, there is a complex interplay of variables that result in the smell of your skin. Yes, your skin has a smell. Mine smells great. Your skin has a smell, and the variables that make up that smell include your genetics, diet, hygiene, the environment you're in, and as mentioned earlier, the microbiome of your skin, which can also change throughout your life, or the season of the year, or who you hang out with. Just basically many variables, okay? All of this results in your own personal skin scent, also known as a skin signature. Who knew? Your skin has its own signature scent. is amazing. And this skin signature is made up of the bacteria, the yeast, and the other organisms that live on our skin. These microorganisms break down your sweat and other things that you may secrete into volatile organic compounds, which contribute to your individual body odor. You see where I'm going with this? Now, if any of these variables change, so does the way our skin interacts with a fragrance. So a fragrance that may have smelled nice during the summer will kind of smell bad when worn in winter. Or maybe you got a new partner who you're hanging out with a lot. That may actually change how a fragrance behaves on your skin due to changes in your own skin microbiome. So overspraying is just not the answer. So the key to getting consistent and good performance and scent from your fragrances is to keep your skin healthy. It's pretty basic, which kind of means keeping yourself healthy for the most part, but also keeping your skin's pH balanced and around that 5.5 mark. Now, this isn't set in stone either because, as I mentioned earlier, these are variables. So the thing that you're doing now to keep your healthy skin pH balance could be rendered less effective should any of the aforementioned variables change. Another key to getting better performance from your fragrances is, if you think about it, you really want your fragrances to sit on the surface of your skin and radiate scent into the air as they evaporate. What you don't want is for your skin to absorb the fragrance. And the level of absorption is linked to the molecular weight of the fragrant compound. So the smaller the molecular weight, the more likely it could absorb through your skin and into your capillaries and be carried into your bloodstream. Now, fragrant blood may sound cool, but I'm sure it's not that great for your health. But relax, everybody, relax. I don't want to cause alarm. Eau de toilette, eau de parfums, extrait de parfums, things like that, they mostly evaporate. So there's minimal, if any, skin absorption. Unlike things like essential oils, which can and do absorb through your skin. So, considering you're mostly smelling the scent in the air as it evaporates, you want the scent to evaporate, right? That's what you want it to do, so that you can smell it and everyone can smell it. So, you get an eau de toilette, which is mostly perfumer's alcohol, and that evaporates quickly, radiating the scent into the air. Lovely. But if it evaporates, then it's gone, and it's not beast mode anymore. So you get an extrait de parfum. More oils means it's going to last longer, right? Well, kinda, yeah? But it's going to sit closer to your skin and often won't be smelled by anyone unless they're kind of close to you, which probably doesn't happen to many of you. Damn. So, what you really want is something that can essentially hold the fragrance on the surface of your skin without it being absorbed and without it evaporating too quickly. There is a thing, and it's called an occlusive, which is essentially a type of skincare product or ingredient that performs a barrier on the skin surface to prevent moisture loss. And it creates a seal that can enhance the effectiveness of other products, in this case, like fragrances. Vaseline, or petroleum jelly, is an occlusive. Most of you probably have some next to that box of tissues. So you could apply some Vaseline to your pulse points. Grow up. Pulse points, which are your wrists, your neck, and behind your ear. All right? And then you can spray your fragrance over the top of it. But it's actually better if you take some Vaseline and put it in your palm and spray the fragrance onto it and then massage that all in and then apply it to your pulse points. Grow up, I said. You will not only get better performance, but you'll also get better longevity without it being absorbed into your skin or without it affecting your skin's pH balance as well. Now, also good to know is that you probably need to wash the Vaseline off because it's basically a barrier. So it's blocking your skin's pores wherever it's applied. So you don't want to keep things like that on for a long time. So you got to wash that off. And also make sure that the occlusive that you use, if it's not Vaseline, is not perfumed itself. It goes without saying, but I thought I'd mention it nonetheless. Okay, probably one of the best benefits of not applying fragrance directly on your skin is that you may avoid, or in the very least, reduce the contact with something called phthalates. I'm going to get on a little bit of a tangent here, but bear with me. Phthalates are a group of chemicals that are used to make plastics more flexible and durable. But they're also used in cosmetics products. In fragrances, Phthalates are used as solvents and stabilizers, and they're pretty much in every fragrance. Damn. If you look on the ingredients list on your fragrance box, you might not see the word phthalate in there. And that's because they sneak them in under two ingredient names. One is fragrance. So if you see that on the ingredient list, it means there's phthalates in there. And then the other one is Perfume. So it's pretty much in every fragrance. But please relax, for 99.99% of us, it's never going to be impactful enough to make you care. Just wanted to put it out there. Because there are way more ways of phthalate ingestion that are far more prevalent that you should care about because of what phthalates are known to do. And they've been linked to. They're endocrine disruptors, so it kind of means that they disrupt the development of the reproductive organs for boys and girls. They can also affect brain development and may contribute to things like ADHD and the risk of breast cancer, uterine cancer, prostate cancer. And I feel really bad for you if you have all three of those things. But the jury is still out on the cancer bit, so take that with a grain of salt. There's more research being done to uncover that. There's other things like endometriosis, low birth weight in babies, type 2 diabetes, that kind of thing. And I know there's some smart aleck in the comments. It's going to say something like it's been regulated and outlawed in their country, when in reality only 3 types of phthalates have actually been outlawed. And there's more. They come in more different types of flavors as well. So not all of them have been outlawed, and we're learning more as we go along. So keep that in mind. Let's get back to skin health. That was a bit of a tangent, but let's get back to skin health. Another key to good skin health is a plant called moringa, which is a plant native to India. And I used to take it for my gut health many, many years ago. And it has many health benefits, one of which is enhancing your skin. So overall skin enhancement and overall skin health. And you can get it in powdered form in a capsule. And if you use my discount code, I'm kidding. I'm not selling anything. I'm just informing you all on skin health. The other tidbit that I've got for you is get some sleep. Yeah, surprise. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Sleeping is good for your skin. However, there is an optimal time for going to sleep that's even better for your skin specifically. And that time is generally between 10 p.m. and midnight. I know a lot of you watching going, there's no way I'm sleeping between 10 p.m. and midnight. But that time is called the sleep golden hour. And that's because at that time, your body dedicates more time to skin regeneration than at other times. But sleep in general is good. Make sure you get at least 7 to 8 hours a night. There is no variance of that unless you're not human. One more tidbit is to move, as in to sweat, like what I'm doing now, because you can sweat out your toxins. And generally people sweat when they're exercising, so it's a good 2 for 1. But don't forget to shower afterwards. And speaking of showering, don't shower too much because you're washing away all of the natural oils from your skin too much and you're drying it out. Now, interestingly, in another side note, until very recently, showering was pretty much a once-a-week activity. Many people used to opt for washing their face and their hands and their feet every day, but the whole body bathed once a week or less. It is also worthwhile mentioning that not overspraying fragrances will mean that you use less of it, so it's cheaper for you. And lastly, the psychology of it all. I'm going to overspray so the people across the street can smell me and yell compliments to me. Thank you. I'm going to overspray because I'm a tough man. I'm no sissy sprayer. I saw a pretty girl who got a free bottle and made a video telling me to overspray, so I got the urge to buy the fragrance using her affiliate link and discount code in the hopes that I would attract her or some other sentient being. I'm going to spray every inch of my body. I'm going to look like I just stepped out of the shower. If that's you, I can't help you. And I won't try to either. It's like that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it think. Well, you can inform an oversprayer, but you can't stop their stink.